So this is something that stuck on to me, right? I mean, it is important, even if I speak today and give you guys saying that, look, guys, these are 10 career pitfalls. But I mean, I'm sure that all of us would try and make our own mistakes, right? And that's important because at the end of the day, like what Albert Einstein says, if you've never made a mistake, you never tried anything, right? I mean, it's important to make mistakes, and that happens only when you try something and when you take risks and so on and so forth, right? And risk and career pitfall actually have got a lot of synergy, right? I mean, how do you manage to take risks but at the same time avoid career pitfalls is super important in that whole journey. Moving on to that is, yeah, so I want to take this first, and then maybe I'll end in the end with in terms of how at least we can think about when you take risks or jump and avoid some of the career pitfalls, right? So what happens in the whole risk-taking business is this. This is the whole risk-taking business. It's a simple framework that I follow, but I think that's what it is, right? So whenever you are taking a jump of your career, right, there is a present situation. What you want, positives. Why are you taking that jump or a risk? Is because you want to achieve an ambition, you want to achieve learning, you want to discover opportunity, right? But the negative that you do not want is to avoid further loss or harm, right? Where am I? Aaj ka present situation, wherever I stand today, you don't want to be going down. So from the present situation, we do not want to be in a place where we still go down, right? Let's move. So what I've done is I've put across about 10 career pitfalls. Some of them I have done, some of them I've seen my colleagues or close people doing it and learn from it. And I'll give personal examples to each one of them so that you can connect very well to it. So let me start with the first one. The first one is career is not linear. Do not base your decisions on salary. So these are two parts to it. One is career is not linear. I'm going to touch upon it, a couple of things that, what one needs to do and why decisions are not based on salary. See, what happens is many of us are in sales and we want to make a career in sales, right? But a head of sales role is what a sales head would reach up to in the sales thing. But tomorrow, if many of us may have aspirations to be a business head, maybe ready to do, wanting to become CEOs, MDs, Asia Pacific heads, regional heads, and so on and so forth, right? So what happens, at least in my case, I actually learned this from another colleague of mine. So this is not my own personal pitfall, but I've learned it, right? Since a very, very close friend of mine who decided that, he got a role from an RSM. He was a regional manager of sales for a region. And he had an opportunity to lead marketing team for 2 years, right? And he got pulled into the marketing team. Now, what happens in that is you have to let go incentives, right? Marketing doesn't have incentives. And the company, most of the companies in the world are not going to, whatever you lose in your incentive is not going to get covered up in your salary, right? And it's not easy. It's very easily said here right now, but to give away incentives, especially for sales, because in sales, incentives do contribute to a large chunk of the money that you take home, right? And decided that, yeah, I have to make my career in sales. So why should I just try my hand out in going into marketing and all of those things? Yeah. So what happened in this whole journey was he ended up not picking up the marketing role. Okay. And what it allowed him not to do is to really become a business head later. Right. So that's one particular thing where I know that career is not linear. So you may, a lot of times will have to make horizontal jumps. And in sales, designation is so big that we sometimes get carried away with the career of designations as well as money. So it is important. Money is important, right? And especially for a salesperson, I don't have to say this. Money is important, but do not base your decisions completely on salary and money, right? Sometimes you need to also look upon, and that's what I'll explain in the framework. You need to look upon what are the possibilities that will open up after this possibility. So this possibility could be maybe either going flat or slightly even lower. Like in this case, if he would have moved to marketing, he would not have lost his designation or banding or parity, but he would have lost his incentives, right? For 2.5 years. But what that would have allowed him is to not become a sales head, but to become a business head, because he would have had an understanding of both sales and marketing, right? So first pitfall, guys, career is not linear. So if opportunities like these come, very rarely do they come to sales guys, because the best sales guys, usually sales head doesn't want to lose them. But if it comes your way that you have an opportunity to spend a couple of years in product, brand, marketing, supply chain, don't give it. Okay, think very hard before you say no to it. And at least do not base the decision basis your salary, right? And very, very important. So sales is a very, very stressful job, right? So when like I told all of you guys, I moved from branding and product into sales. And when I came into sales, there's pressure on sales. Every Friday there's a call. Why this number didn't happen for the week? And again, I have to give a commitment on Friday. Next Friday again, there's a commitment which is asked, and so on and so forth, right? I mean, and a lot of people are not able to manage this. And I started thinking maybe the job is like this. Then I jumped my job, right? Thinking that maybe when I change my job, that part of the stress will go away because it's this company culture which is like this. When I got there, it was very, very similar. Okay. Every Friday I have to commit, or depending upon businesses, some places there's daily, some places there's weekly, some places there's monthly commitments, right? Depending upon the business culture that you are in. So I started thinking that this sales stress is, I mean, if I look back, a couple of job changes that I would have made, I don't think I should have made. Okay. And loads of us, if you look at it, at least the younger culture, younger people in the city today leaving jobs primarily because of the factor saying that stress is very high, the demand is very high, I'm not able to do it. There is no guarantee that when you go to the other place, the stress is going to be less, the stress is going to be equal. It's only going to be equal or more, because you have to again start from scratch and prove yourself. Whereas in an organization, you've at least proven, they'll have some kind of patience with you to say that, yeah, let's see how, this person may have good and bad times. The stress is not going to go away, right? So I picked up my mentor at that point of time, and I went, I spoke to him saying that, I'm not able to do this. So he gave me something which I think was very, very rich and stayed back with me. And even today, I think it's the most important advice I ever got. He said, or if you want to grow in life, you cannot avoid stress. You need to manage stress. Okay. So, and I think that stayed back very, very hard with me. Each and every one of us, as we grow in career, you're not going to be in a place where stress is going to be going away. You cannot get away with stress. You need to learn how to manage stress, right? And I'm not going to take a session on how to manage stress, but there are multiple ways. There are people who want to work out. There are people who want to exercise. There are people who want to listen to music. There are people who want to spend time with their friends or whatever they want to do, right? But find something in which you figure out a way to get that stress out. But if you think you can avoid stresses by changing jobs, I think it's a great career pitfall. You would have lost something, right? Underestimating your worth. So what happens in this is primarily because we see a lot of opportunities in the market, within the organization. A lot of them we may want to do. A lot of them we feel we are not yet there. We feel even in our salary negotiations, right? We feel that, we can't ask more. We feel that, and I've done this mistake, right? And this is one part of the career pitfall, guys. It's taken me a long time to come out because it's a core nature, right? The things that I spoke about, your intelligence can work. In this, your core nature will have to change, right? So for me to ask, saying, hey, look, I'm due for my increment. Why will I get only so much? I need more. Okay. Or going and asking for something which, like Joel said, a business head role has come up. I need to ask for that. Is something that I shied away. Okay. And I was not shying away because I have a shy nature. I'm not shy, right? If I'm shy, I wouldn't go to sales customer and ask for an order. I can ask an order shamelessly. But when it came to me, I would never do that, right? The fundamental thing is underestimating your worth. You need to know what you're worth, right? And at the same time, you need not also become into a stage where you think you're God. That's a problem. Okay. You need to be humble, and you need to be polite, but understanding your worth is super important, right? Understanding your worth, saying that, hey, look, if this is a role, I'm absolutely fit for the role, and I want to ask her. If you think you are eligible for a certain amount of salary hike, even when you jump jobs, when there is a certain increment that you think you needed, you need to know your worth. Okay. And knowing your worth doesn't mean that, putting up air and on your hat and saying that, hey, look, this is what I want, otherwise I'm not coming. It doesn't work that way. But also at the same time, understanding what you bring onto the table. A lot of people don't themselves know what they bring onto the table and how valuable they are to the organization or to the team that they work, right? So how do you get this through? The biggest blunder that you would do is end up giving interviews. Okay. That is what multiple people would advise you, saying that go in the market, give 6 interviews, you'll know your worth. Your worth is not known only by the amount of money that you get paid. Okay. Your worth is also known by what is the thing that you can bring onto the table. So for example, taking up projects outside your team, outside sales, in other particular functions, and see what are the value addition that you can bring onto the table during those projects. those team will start saying, oh man, this guy is not only a great sales guy, but he can also come out with marketing ideas, right? And that is how you also start realizing, hey, look, I understand supply chain, I understand brand, I understand marketing, I am worthy enough that very less people may know all of these things together, right? So it's important to understand your worth, guys. And please do not make the blunder of going and giving 10 interviews in the market to figure out your worth. That's not the right way of figuring out how worthy you are, because worthy is not only about money. Worthy is about what you can bring onto the table as value, right? So this is something that I've seen multiple people in my team lose out because of this. I see so many people today being in this comfort zone, including things that I don't want to relocate, I want to be in Delhi, I want to be here, I want to be there, and so on and so forth, right? So the last 2 years are slightly different, but the world that's going to come back again in multiple ways, this is not how it works, right? The reason is, see what is a faster growth? How do you grow faster? Many people will ask this. Jumping jobs is not the way to grow faster. The way to grow faster is to figure out opportunities within the organization, which the organization is struggling to build up, and you owning it up and saying that I will turn it around, give it to me, right? In this, the chances of you going down are very less, because anyways, it's already down. Anyways, organization is struggling with that, and then picking it up from there, right? So this is something that I'll tell you what I did, which really helped me. So I've lived across 17 cities in India, and I would have moved in my career 13 times, cities and countries and stuff. When I was sitting in Bombay one of the days, I got an opportunity. I got to know that there is a business which is struggling in southern India, and the company is struggling to do that, to bring that business up. That region is struggling, and the regional manager role was vacant. So I had to really think, because moving to Chennai was not easy for me at that point of time. I had multiple personal commitments. My wife was carrying with my kid and stuff. But I thought, no one's picking this up. And even if I fail, it's not like it's something great and I failed it, right? It's already at a pitfall. How much can it go down, right? So I thought it's a great opportunity for me. Moved up and said that I'll turn this around. Moved to Chennai. And I think I was able to turn it around. And what happens in usually those kind of projects is, if it is so low that even if you don't do a 10x, if you do even a 2x, it feels 10x, right? Because nobody would have thought that it will even rise, right? So even if you do a 2 or 3x, it gets into a 10x kind of a feel, right? And that got me into this thing that pick up stuff which are actually not going great, pick that up, turn it around, even if it means you need to relocate. It's amazing. Okay. And that helped me learn today. When I look back, it's been the biggest strength for me. I can read, write, speak 5 languages, because at a younger age, it's easy to pick up languages. I stayed in Kerala, I stayed in Tamil Nadu, I stayed in Maharashtra. Karnataka, all of those things help me pick up those languages. And it's super easy in sales if you can speak the language of the customer, right? Even if the customer can speak English, if you're able to connect well, it's really, really useful. So being in that comfort zone of same thing, saying that I want to be in sales, I don't want to move to product, I want to be in sales, build career only in sales. I understand language very well. I want to be in only one city. I don't want to move outside locations, because every city, India is big. Most of you all are going to make your career at least starting in India. Every city in India, every state in India is like a country, right? I mean, the size of Tamil Nadu is the size of Indonesia, right? So if it behaves very, very different from a West Bengal, very, very different from a UP, right? So the culture, the way that you get to learn tomorrow when you grow into a national sales head, for you to know how a UP behaves and how UP people behave, knowing how West Bengal behaves or a Tamil Nadu behaves is extremely useful. That's more richer than any MBA school that you would go to, right? So come out of the comfort zone, pick up things that are difficult, turn it around. And this whole thing of not ready to relocate, I've seen many, many people not able to move up their careers because of that. My own mentor, with whom I have huge respect, has moved 8 countries with a 14-year-old kid and a 10-year-old kid. So they are 14 and 10 today, and he's moved 8 countries. So they've studied every 1.5, 2 years in one country in a school, right? And it's not easy. But if you want to come out of that comfort zone, that's why at the age of 44 or 45 is already heading a region and stuff like that, right? So it's important. So a lot of salespeople like to believe that, we are the breadwinners of the company. I mean, and I've been also into that space. I've done this mistake, right? I get the business for the company. Everybody's salary in a way comes in because I get the revenue. Nobody else gets revenue, right? Sales gets revenue. And in that whole journey of trying to show that off to other functions, or actually even within the teams to show that, hey, look, I am the best sales star I have, and I don't need anybody's help, and I don't want to give anyone help, doesn't work. So taking help from marketing, branding, product, and I've done those mistakes, right? I could have done even 10x better business if I would have taken help from marketing. I thought I knew better than marketing. And a lot of sales people feel that, right? I mean, तू तो AC room में बैठा रहता है, मैं जमीन पे काम करता हूँ, मेरे को मालूम है क्या चाहिए, right? So, and in that whole journey of trying not to respect the other functions and to say, I don't need your help, I can manage everything myself. I know the customer, I have relationship, I'll get things done. It doesn't work that way. Okay. It may work for you to just earn your quarterly incentive. You'll not grow. I lost a year of my growth because the organization decided to do a 360-degree feedback for growth, and I wasn't there, right? Because every other function, in spite of being like 140% achievement on my number, got all my incentives, the org said that, boss, you can't collaborate and work, right? And neither are you helping other people. So it won't work like that. If you don't help others and if you don't ask for help from others, you will not grow. I think a great learning for me. And last, I think this I got about 14, 15 years back to make a huge change. But this is not difficult to change because it's just a mindset thing. It's just we are sitting in a place saying that, look, I'm the star. I earn the bread for the company. You know, jisko baat karna hai, you guys come and talk to me. I'm not available for anyone, and so on and so forth, right? Sales people waste a lot of time. I'll tell you what I used to do. We had this group every evening. We were all in different parts of the business. I mean, different parts of the city, Bombay or Delhi, or after a sales call. This is all I'm talking about when I was a frontliner or a first line manager, right? Every evening, we'll just either my team or my peers will catch up. Same group, same people. Every evening, 6:37, we'll catch up and sit with just general chit chat, drink it out, go to a pub, 11:30, go home, next morning get up, do this, every alternate or every 3 days, right? The reason were 2-3 things. One is we thought, yeah, only sales is sales, everybody else doesn't matter. That's how at least I thought. And the second part of it, there's a comfort feel here. We have a good rapport, relationship. I just did that. And when I look back those 3 years, I haven't built a single network, right? I mean, instead of that, if I would have gone and asked my product manager, hey, look, do you want to come out for a dinner? Or I would have gone and asked my brand manager, hey, look, do you want to go out for a coffee? Or I would have gone and spent supply chain people who are helping me out, or ops people, can I spend some time with you? I would have built great network, right? And that's in a way going to help you in the future to manage a complex structure without too many people, right? I could have done that. I could have met people who were in different industries, different things. That time was being spent every day doing the same thing every evening. I could have read books during that time. I could have watched movies or for entertainment. I would have taken courses even if I had to build my career. And I see even today a lot of salespeople while up the time, right? Just that a smoke around the corner. And I'm not saying it's not important, but we just overdo it. And at least I have wasted a huge amount of time. So guys, just one learning in life, right? If all of us have one enemy, all of us, every human being on this world has only one enemy, and that enemy is time. Whatever you're doing is fighting against time, right? You're working hard because you have a retirement age. You're working hard because you want to make money. Your child is going to hit a certain age. You have an old mother. You want to buy a house at a certain time. Everything is to do with time. If you remove time as a function out, right, then everything is possible by everybody. The thing is time, right? We want to get there in 2 years. We want to get there in 4 years. 2 saal nikal do, everybody will get there, right? So time is the largest enemy that you fight every day, and wasting that is criminal. And I've done huge mistakes of 3-4 years just wasting and whiling up my time. So don't waste your time, right? I mean, whatever you just spoke about, all of those are connected to this, right? If you can while that time, might well go and pick up some courses which will help you. Okay, go and meet people who can build your career. Go back to your own college to teach if you want to do something. But just whiling up the same time again and again and again and again is just, I've done that criminal mistake. Don't do that. It's a huge career pitfall. Use that time for networking. Yeah, so feedback is super important. And what happens is usually sales feedbacks are, as an organization also, we end up, and the organization is very tangible, right? A sales is the business is very tangible. You have a number, so it's easy to figure out whether you did it or you didn't do it. If you do it, you're great. If you didn't do it, it's great. So what happens for us as salespeople is, if you want to take feedback, you have to a little bit push for the feedback because it's very visible. number has happened, so great job. Number has not happened, so not a great job, right? That's how it happens. So, but you can get feedback. And what happens in sales is we don't end up taking feedback because we feel that, yeah, our number has done our job. It's there on the business thing. We have done well. I've done 140%. I've done well. What is there to take now? Or maybe I've done 90%. So I know where I stand now. So we usually get into this mode. But feedback is not only to do with output, right? Feedback is to do with your process and input, right? So, well, like, what are you doing? How are you showing up? I mean, where are you missing? Why did you do 140? Why couldn't you do 200? Why did you do 90? Why did you not get to 100? That doesn't lie in the result. And it's partially to do with organizations, because organizations in organized sales is very tangible. So the mechanism of feedback systems is quite weak, but nothing stops us from going and taking feedback, right? If we walk up to somebody and say, look, I want to take a feedback from you, and usually you can take feedback structure in 3 things, right? What should I continue doing, start doing, stop doing? If somebody is struggling to give you a feedback, just say this: please give me a feedback. What should I continue doing? What should I start doing? And what should I stop doing? Right? And that will then help you with some kind of stuff, because every time that you don't take a feedback, you're again losing out time on correcting that, right? And it is important for you to know how the world perceives you or how the world looks at you. And not taking that feedback is just postponing, and actually you're missing out on time. So I missed out. Do not. So now at least look at, I mean, I don't know how many of you read that recent article. Sheryl Sandberg, who decided to come out of Facebook, right? So when she joined Facebook, she told Mark that I just need one thing from you. Every week, I want a feedback from you. Even though you're like so many years younger than me, but every week, I want you to give me a feedback. And today when she resigned, she said, I'm very happy after so many years at Facebook, it still continued that every week Mark gives me feedback, right? So, but it was not that Mark wanted to give a feedback. Sheryl said, I want you to give me a feedback every week, right? So asking for that feedback is super important. Don't hesitate, and don't sit in the place saying that mujhe feedback ki zarurat nahi hai, right? It's important to get that feedback. We've spoken about it. No networking, very, very important. After a certain time, it's only your network that gets you to where it is. Okay. It's not, and a lot of people sit in this place to say that my CV speaks for me, my work speaks for me. It doesn't speak. Your CV will speak for you, your work will speak for you, but the world works when other people can speak for you, and other people can speak for you only when you meet them, right? Everybody in this world is not going to pick up your CV and read, but there are, if 10 people will speak, right, that's more faster and it spreads faster. Networking is important. It's a separate session in itself, how to network, but in your own way, you should meet people. It's a science. It's not an art. It's not a skill. It's science. So there is a science behind how you network, how you meet people, what kind of people do you meet, how often do you keep changing your network. There is an inner circle of 5 people, outer circle of more people. Important to follow that, but take out time to meet newer people as much as you can. And please do not think that you can network only with people above you. You also need to meet people at peer level. You also need to network with people who are below, right? It's important. Otherwise, that whole feeling of saying that I want to network only with people who are senior than me is a very wrong thought process, right? But I learned this late, but I think last couple of years, I can say that I've really worked on this, and it's helped me master this networking. Yeah, another thing that we do in sales, right? We burn bridges, and especially junior salespeople, a lot of them, my job is done, I'm moving on, give 7-day notice, 3-day notice, and we are in demand. The other company may say you even joined without a, what do you say, full and final letter, we'll go away. Not good. Trust me, I mean, I'm telling you out of 18 years of experience, a lot of people. So yesterday I spoke to somebody who was with me in my first job. So 2003, this person and me worked together. And yesterday we ended up meeting somewhere after 19 years. So you never know how, I mean, so it's super important. And whatever well you would have done, the last few times, if you just leave your job and burn bridges, it just leaves a sour taste in the mouth, which is not at all good, right? So super important, guys, to not burn bridges. Speak it out politely and everybody understands, but don't burn bridges. Do not burn bridges. This is something I've seen from other people. I have never done this. Every job that I've left, I still have a great relationship with the people whom I've worked with, including my first job. That's the power of networking. But at the same time, if you leave people with good taste, then that's the memory that they carry about you, right? Irrespective of whatever you would have done. And that's also your true character that comes out at that point of time. So do not burn bridges while leaving jobs. It'll come back. It's a small world and it will come back. So be extremely careful about this. So what happens, especially in sales now, you will find a lot of these people. I hope that none of you all are like that. And if you all are like that, please take. But you will surely find a lot of people in this business where they start thinking that God, they are the God, they are God's gift to mankind, right? It's very difficult for the boss to give them up because they do like 60% of the total business of the team, but managing them is supremely difficult. Okay. And I was one of them. I can tell you that for a year, I was a Prima Dona where, I was like the top performer. I used to act difficult. I used to be not that easily approachable, but I'm talking about 15 years back, right? It is supremely solid career pitfall. Okay. And usually there are Prima Donas in every function, but you will see a lot of Prima Donas in sales. And hence, getting that into your head, saying that world ends and I'm God's gift to mankind, or saying that, hey, look, I am the guy who runs the sales in this company. If I am not there, 60% of the team's delivery is gone. So the company is what I am because of what I am. And if you know it, it's one thing. But if you act like that, it's a huge problem. Huge problem, right? And it's just a matter of time that you will be replaced. So this is something that I started following, and I think a lot of questions in terms of how do you decide movements, right? So what happens is, guys, whenever you have choices, right? When you have to make whether within the same organization or you have to go outside the organization, there are risks involved, right? So what happens is, and you need to rate your risks and you also need to rate your choices, right? So usually the choices that you make, I think I put it into these 4 boxes, and that's how I usually see. Number one, whether this job / whether this role is getting me closer to my goal. Not having a goal is a big problem, but that's a separate session in itself. Everybody needs to have goal, and whether it gets you into your goal, right? Second is to know, is this my passion space in terms of my superpower? Everybody has superpowers and values. Is this choice going to be a great fit for me or no? Right? My value system, will it allow me to do it or not? Right? Like, for example, if somebody doesn't want to please anybody, if that is their value system, then working in sales is slightly difficult because you have to please your customer. There's no option, right? Somebody has listening problems, then they will have to can't work in sales, right? So it's important for you to then rate it in terms of your passion space. Is this really my passionate space or not? And it may not be, but at least know whether it is your passionate space or not, whether it aligns with your superpowers and values, right? Third is tailwinds and headwinds, right? Tailwind is what allows you to go faster. Headwind will slow you, right? And this is usually the market, right? Right. For example, is it a good time to work in fintech? Is it a good time to work in edtech? Is it a good time to work in AI? Is it a good time to work in electric energy space? These are all tailwinds and headwinds of the market, right? This may not be a great time to work for something which is not funded. This may not be a great time to work for something which is funded, and so on and so forth. So knowing the choice that you're going to take, is it going to be a tailwind or a headwind, right? Headwind is slowing you and tailwind will push you faster. It'll grow you faster, right? So that's something that you need to know when you make a choice. And fourth is people. It's supremely important. Whatever people say, you need to get that feeling with when you speak to your bosses and stuff in your interviews, that this is a place where I think I can work. Okay. And you need to put that, rate it out. Okay. Even if you first rate it out, everything has to be rated out of 10, right? Where do you think rate out of 10 or 5, whatever, you need to rate this. So these are your choices where you rate them. Then there is a fifth part of it, which is fear, right? Financial fear, which I just spoke about. Moving from sales to marketing, you lose your incentive. So is it worth doing it or not? That fear of me losing my incentive or losing my form 16 is going to look smaller than the previous year. Is it something that I want to take it or not take it, right? So rate. Reputation and ego. I was this sales head of some other organization. Now I'm becoming a sales head for a very small company, or I'm joining a smaller brand. What will my people talk about me? I was managing 100 people. I'm going to pick up a team of 3 people. Is it something for my reputation, ego? What will happen? It is super important. People do ask this. And there is no running away or shy important, right? And then your personal choices. There are a lot of personal choices of your fears. Like one example is whether this will allow me to relocate or not. Okay. If there allows you to relocate, then it's very personal. You only will have to tell whether I want to relocate or not relocate, right? Only you can answer that question. Nobody else can answer. So some of those personal things you need to put beyond if there has anything, right? So what I usually do is I put my over here out of 5, I put my choices, right? So for example, I have say 3 choices: being in the same place, so company number 1, company number 2, which is going to be higher opportunity for me to get me to closer to my goal. Where will my superpowers be maximum used? Where I feel the people are great to work with or the culture is great. Where is a tailwind and what is headwind, right? Maybe this is a place which is a very traditional business where it will grow very slowly, and this could be a very, very fast organization which will go faster. It will be very different industry, right? And then you get a total. And then you have the risk scores, right? Which has high risk to low risk to high risk, right? Like financial risk, which is the lowest, which is the highest. If you go for a very stable company, your financial risk is lower. You're not taking a hit. Your financial risk is lower. Then you have your ego reputation, which I just spoke about. We spoke about personal relocation. And then these are choices after choices, which are also important, by the way. Like if this choice, after that, what will happen to me? If I take this role, the role after this, where do I stand? Right? So some of those things you need to put up together. And then what you do is minus this by this, like 15 minus 9 is 6, 17 minus 7 is 10, example, and 13 minus 6 is say 7. Then you see where do you stand, and then give you a little bit idea from an objective standpoint that the decision that you make, where do you stand in terms of opportunity versus risk that you carry, and then that will allow you to take a decision. This is not 100% true because there are things beyond this, there are things beyond gut, but at least directionally it will guide you how to think rather than just thinking, saying that, yeah, I want to work for this boss, so I'm going irrespective of whatever the job is. I want to work for this brand, kuch bhi ho jaye, I want to get inside. I'm getting a salary hike, so I'm going irrespective of whatever it is. Those are wrong decisions to make. This will just help you so that your career is not just next job, right? What do you do after that job? And all of those things matter. So just important to take that. Yeah, I thought this will be useful. So can avoid a little bit of your career pitfalls if you follow some of these things. Stress is not because of, like I said, the monotony at work is not going to change. You pick up any job in the world. So if you look at, for example, over that person's iPhone, or tomorrow if you have to do a MD's job or a sales head job, you can't change job anyways in 6 months. You have to do minimum 4 years, 5 years of that job, right? So 4 to 5 years, if you have to do that, even that job is monotonous, right? There is no job which is every day you will have a new job to do, right? What you will be able to do is to keep thinking and doing different things, experimenting, and more than anything else, trying to keep manage that stress outside the work. So the thing is, stress is usually built not while during the work. Stress is usually built when you're done the work and you keep still thinking about the work, right? So you need to figure out ways. Right now, for me, what works, I can tell you. I do a 40 minutes of running in the morning, irrespective of wherever I'm in the world, whatever happens. And that 40 minutes, I don't see my phone. I don't see messages. I don't see emails. So when I wake up in the morning, first thing, I don't see my email. I don't see my WhatsApp because I know there is some kind of stuff that will be there. So let me finish my workout for 45, 50 minutes. My body is a lot more better. It's energized. I come take a shower and then only I look at all the emails and WhatsApp that are lying with me, right? So it's, if we think, sleep, eat with the same problem, it's there. The idea is in switching on and switching off, right? That's where the key is. How do you do it? There are a lot more better people. I'm not the best person because I actually even took help to get this. And there are a lot of people who can help this out, or maybe Juno School of Business could be running something in the future with this. What does MBA do? I think a lot of people need to understand that. MBA in the initial stage may be great. What does MBA do? In my opinion, this is what MBA does. And I'm telling you because I've gone to 2 MBA schools, right? What MBA did for me, now, number one, diversity. It's the largest thing that it got me to. First thing is when I got into a college of NM, it's not that you're the only one who's cracked an NMIMS and getting in. You have 100 people around you who've done the same, right? So it helps you to understand pehle to get grounded, right? I mean, you're not the only one, right? There are, all of them have cracked the same thing and come in. That's first thing. So you start seeing a lot more people who are like, who are also the smart guys in their own world, right? The second part of it is diversity. So you share a room with someone You would have been born and brought up in Bombay. You meet somebody who's come in from Nagpur. You would have been born and brought up in a smaller tier 3, and you meet somebody who's a roommate who's a tier 1 or a metro city boy or a girl. You meet multiple diversity of people, people who worked and then come in, people who have not worked and then come in. That gives you a very rich experience. Okay, it gives you extremely rich experience in terms of the kind of people that you work with and the projects that you work with, right? Now, does it mean that if you have that, you can do great in life? No, if you're not good at your work and if you don't do some of the things or the career pitfalls and stuff that you don't manage, you're not going to do good. I know loads of people who've done really good MBA schools and have not been able to do well in life. And I equally know loads of people who've not even gone to a great undergraduate, forget MBA school, and have done amazingly well in life, right? So what happens in the MBA school is, so your career is not decided by the MBA school, okay, whether you do well or not. But some of the things that the MBA school does is something that you will have to pick that up then, right? How to deal with diversity, how to deal with business decision. And this can be learned in multiple ways, right? I mean, like what we are talking right now, I don't think when I was at MBA school, at least the first one, anybody actually gave me these things saying that don't do it, right? And these are a lot more good learnings what Juno is trying to get on table. So these are learnings, right? I mean, that's what in a way you need to learn, right? I mean, to know a Porter's method is important, 5 forces, but that can be learned outside too, is my take. Usually when you move to tech to management, number one, you'll have to do it in your own organization. Moving organization should never open up multiple failures, point of failures when you jump jobs, right? So for example, when you jump a job where you're changing industry, where you're changing department, and where you're changing geography, is not a great thing. You have 3 points of failures because all 3 are new for you, right? So if you're trying to change from a tech to management role, best to do it in the own organization, so that you're not changing the organization, you're not changing your company. So a lot of things are static, only one thing changes. So then your risk becomes lesser and you do pretty well. So going up and speaking to your HR is the best thing to say, look, this is what I want to do. That could mean coming out of comfort field. That could mean giving up of your incentive schemes or whatever, but that's something that one will have to do, right? Like for example, with tech, you may have a lot of projects outside where you make money in dollars, you'll have to give up all of those things. So it's a call that you'll have to take then. Everybody fails in sales, right? I mean, and sales is, in my opinion, sales is a science and a skill both. It's a science, right? I mean, how much do you listen? How much do you allow the customers to speak? How often do you ask, say, the business, right? 60 to 70% of the sales is lost because the salesperson doesn't ask for it at the right time, right? So he or she ends on meeting the customer, has great relationship, solves all the problems, but never takes that one step to say, when will I get my purchase order, right? So, and it's not, that's a very important step in sales, right? How there are these 5 steps of selling. What do you do at ice breaking? So a lot of things are there. It's difficult for me to tell what will work, but usually when you say, how do I keep motivating myself? If you're continuously failing, the answer is not in your motivation. The answer is in science. Okay. So for example, I want to run tomorrow a marathon. Just because I'm not able to run, how do I keep, just by waking up every morning and going to run, I will not be able to get there, right? If I'm not able to do it, I'll have to go back and say, why my energy is low? Am I eating the right food? Am I sleeping the right way? If I don't fix some of those things, it's not easy for me just because I wake up at 6 o'clock and go for a run. So the answer is not in just a motivation injection. The answer will come in a little bit of more science and what's the skill there you're missing out. So somebody will have to work closely with you to figure that out. First time I asked for it just to get a feel. I said, let me ask, what will happen? Karke dekhta hu. ठीक है? I tried it, and what happened was my senior said no, right? So, and I came home. Obviously, I felt bad, but that night I also felt that what happened at the most, what he or she said is no, right? They didn't shoot me. So that was the first thing, right? But later on, but that gave me a little bit confidence, saying that, yeah, you won't die if you ask, right? Maximum there'll be a no to you, right? The second part of it is to understand my worth, right? And so when you start understanding your worth is when you can actually understand what you are, and it's not through money, right? So what I started doing was some of these things. I started doing I did a project with supply chain. I did a project at that point of time with finance. Okay, these two people, because marketing was I was pretty good at it. I came from that background. So I spent some time in these two places, and I was really actually able to add value into their project, right? And they came up and they wrote an email to me saying that this is what Deepak added value to this project and so on and so forth. And that made me feel a lot more valuable then like that, I started feeling my own confidence to say that, hey, look, how many people there are. 500 sales guys in this team. There's only one person who could do a project with finance, and actually the finance team liked what I got onto the table, right? So why am I feeling that I won't be able to ask? So it will not come by just telling yourself, I want to ask, I want to ask. It will come by making your own self-esteem go up. That underestimating yourself will have to go up, and that will happen only when you are able to see yourself as valuable. Okay, and that is what at least worked for me. That even today, when I feel that, hey, look, I don't think I fit into this place, I just try to go and figure out whether I can fit. And I usually see that it's not that difficult, right? It's just us who feel that. So that's the way at least I started feeling myself more worthy. And when you feel worthy, you will ask. The problem is when you don't feel worthy is when you don't ask.